beating the Packers and doing it without Gronk and Sony Michel as well.
Well, before we even get into that, Sarah, Cece, I got to ask you this. Was Tom Brady throwing to Julian Edelman on that last one, or was he throwing to Josh Gordon? Because it looked like he was throwing to Julian Edelman.
It looked like Edelman thought he was throwing.
It looked like he was throwing to Julian Edelman.
That's a very good point.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. But, I mean, I guess you get a lot of luck when you have Tom Brady and Bill Belichick at the top of your organization. And that's exactly what happened yesterday in the fourth quarter. The Patriots wait for you to make the mistakes, and then they capitalize on them. That's exactly what happened. They had one of their guys, Lawrence guy, forced a fumble on Aaron Jones. They were able to take advantage of it, double pass that led to the touchdown. And then, of course, being able to force that 3 and out, which was huge by their defense. Trey Flowers and Adrian Claiborne combined and getting the sack on Aaron Rodgers. They got to punt it away. Guess what they do? They come back down. Josh Gordon, touchdown pass for 55 yards. That's the difference between the Patriots winning and losing games, being able to take advantage of the miscues of the opposing team better than any other team in the National Football League.
One thing that you pointed out from the beginning was we know that Sony Michel wasn't there. We know that Gronk wasn't there. So what does Belichick do? How do I replace that productivity? I'm not going to be able to do it with power, force, athleticism, so I'm just going to do it with the scheme. I'm getting ready to steal 7 points.
First drive of the game.
Green Bay wins the opening kickoff. They defer. Give it to New England. Oh, okay. That little undersized nickel defense you've been trying to play with that you thought you had success last week playing against the Rams, I'm getting ready to make you play with them this whole first drive. Why? Because I'm getting ready to go at a speed that you're not even going to be allowed to substitute. And I believe that was a huge change of pace, how we're going to start the game. So you know what Green Bay did? They tried to figure out for the whole first half. Now, what do they do when they go back to this? They didn't come back to it anymore. So now they waste your time in you trying to adjust, and then they go on to something else. Cordell Patterson, Eric Mangini told us, man, sometimes the best part of invention is when you're forced into something. And they were forced to try to find another tailback, and, man, they gave him the football. He's got one good skill, and that's running with the football. He cannot catch. Him recognizing coverage, no, his hands are suspect. How do I know that? Minnesota Vikings drafted him in the first round. He ultimately went to the Raiders, and they couldn't utilize him there besides being a special teams player. But Bill Belichick, the best coach in football, scheme. I'm going to get 7 points easily by going at a warp speed, and then I'm going to put a wide receiver at tailback, and I'm going to let him touch the ball 10 times and see how you like that.
I mean, that was the key. Listen, Brady was unbelievable in the fourth quarter, and we can go over those numbers later. But the difference in this game was Bill Belichick in the week leading up to the game and the coaching staff. This was a vintage Patriots performance. It's games like this that make Brady versus Belichick a real debate. Typically, when you have the greatest quarterback of all time, he's always going to be more important than coach. But when he's paired with a coach who during the week can realize probably aren't going to have Gronk, probably aren't going to have Sony Michel, going to have to find a way to take advantage of the Packers' weakness in the run game, going to have to find a way to take advantage of the Packers' weakness in their secondary. Now they don't have Ha-Ha Clinton-Dix. And they out-schemed the Packers through the first 3 quarters, and then not surprisingly, they didn't make a mistake late. The opponent did, and that's how it becomes a 2-touchdown win.
And Sarah, we were talking earlier, talking about, well, what's the big difference in this Pats team compared to some of the other teams? How they played last night is how they won 3 Super Bowls. Now, they won the other 2 through Tom Brady. But how did they win those first 3? Exactly like that. Field position, win the turnover margin, win time possession, and come up with a couple tricks. One being the no huddle, one being a trick play. Those are the things, a turnover in the fourth quarter. If you're talking about how do they beat people, that's exactly how they have beaten people for a number of years, Chris.
You have to have a near flawless performance if you're going to go into Foxborough and win. Now, I've won with the New York Giants, and I've lost with the Baltimore Ravens, and the one thing that I can say is if you give them opportunities, especially late in the game, they're going to capitalize on them. And Bill Belichick coach teams, they usually don't make those types of mistakes, especially in the critical phases of the game, third down, end of half, end of game, and especially in the fourth quarter. And that's the difference in this team and why we always see them make an appearance in the AFC Championship game.
I understand that the week leading up to this game was all about the 2 quarterbacks against each other. They had the GOATs during the broadcast wearing the jerseys. They had the second greatest basketball player of all time do a little promo video promoting the game. They did a lot of things promoting the Brady Rodgers competition. So let's just look at that for a moment. Through the first three quarters, it was a no contest going to Aaron Rodgers. Through the first three quarters, Rodgers had him beat in everything. Brady had 6 straight incompletions at one point, near a career high. Brady was not sharp. And then what happened in the fourth quarter? Oh, that's right. Tom Brady looked like Tom Brady in the fourth quarter. That 158.3, that's a perfect quarterback rating. Yes. No mistakes, no incompletions. Rodgers, he mentioned in his press conference, he missed a couple throws. You guys said a skinny post, Equinemius St. Brown.
Yep.
And then he pointed out himself a pass he missed on second down when they were down 7 to Devontae Adams. Like, he wasn't quite as sharp. Now, I don't think that's an indictment on Rodgers, but it is a testament to Brady and who Brady has been these last, 15 to 18 years, which is a fourth quarter killer.
Rodgers in postgame talked about their issues in consistency and communication. Now that they're 3-4-1, do you believe that the Packers can bounce back from this?
No, and I don't think the Packers general manager believes that either. That's why they were sellers at the trade deadline. I think that was an honest assessment by BG of where his team was at, and the other team that was on the winning side of this thing, that's why they made the moves that they made before the trade deadline, acquiring the pieces that they needed, recognizing that Tom Brady had a lack of weapons early in the first month of the season. They had to put more around him in order to get this offense on track. That's exactly what they did. And so I feel like this is the point in the season where one of those teams is ascending and the other team is dealing with the reality that they're probably not going to qualify for the postseason this year.
They got to go 7-1 in the final 8. If that's what it is.
Is it going to happen?
I don't think it's going to happen. I won't eliminate them from it. But, but that's what they're at. When you're at 3-4-1, you got to get to 10 wins. The tie is at this point essentially a loss. So you're going to have to go 7-1 the rest of the way. Now, the last 5 games of their season, there's some mostly winnable football games. They're mostly against losing teams except for the Bears. And the Bears, to me, are a bit of a fraudulent 5-win team right now. But Aaron Rodgers said it after that comeback where they needed a comeback against San Francisco. We got a bye, and then we got a tough schedule coming up. They were in position to win both of these games. A fumble on the kickoff deprived them of an opportunity to win the game last week against the Rams. A fumble in the fourth quarter in a 17-17 game deprived them of their best opportunity to win yesterday. It wasn't their only opportunity, but their best opportunity. They are now... Rodgers never been in this position. Never once in his career as a starter has his team been below 500 at the midway point. That's where they find themselves right now.
They got to be able to run the football. I don't care if the kid fumbles. Aaron Jones, you got to be able to give him the football. If they're going to be able to get themselves in position, what was one of the bright spots to me, that was his ability to be able to run the football. They're not going to be able to be effective on the road unless you have a running game. And if you look at Aaron Rodgers, can they go 7-1? Can they make some damage in the playoff? I don't think this team is strong enough. And as you talked about with the general manager being sellers at the trade deadline compared to buyers, and also alluding that he was going to participate in next year in free agency. Well, that doesn't do an awful lot for this year's team. So I don't think this Pats is the best version of the Pats that we've seen the last several years.
And I know they could have used Clinton Dix yesterday, particularly after their safety got thrown out of the game. Canty, we haven't talked about this. The ejection. You've been in a lot of tough football games, hand fighting with offensive line.
That was a bad call by the Zebras. You can't eject that guy in that situation.
Right.
You can't do it.
Like, listen, it should be a flag. It's always a flag if you get caught slapping a guy in the head. But what's one of the reasons you played football instead of basketball?
Oh man, because you could assault someone on a regular basis and not get arrested.
Yeah, ain't no foul outs in football.
No.
Physicality is praised.
And that is such vintage Patriots. I'm going to do something against the rules. I'm going to shove you after the whistle when the teacher's back is turned. I'm going to bait you into something, and then, look.
Oh,
hey, flag. Excuse me, sir.
Him and Edelman, oh, man, they lead the world. and definitely, look at him. He did it.
It was a huge ejection, given the fact they didn't have Clinton Dix. Like, this was... But
Clinton Dix didn't help to watch the Redskins not much.
No, I understand that, but he would have helped. They needed depth yesterday. They needed personnel yesterday. They had injuries. They had an ejection. This was a critical game. The Packers... And even if they go 7-1, every playoff game is going to be on the road. The last road game this team won was December 10th in Cleveland in overtime last season.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So, even if they get in the tournament, they got to figure out what the hell's happening to them on the road, what's happening to their pass defense on the road. That I don't see a fix coming for anytime soon.
Chris Canty, thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you guys for having me.
Good to see you. We're gonna stay on the topic of another quarterback who has been special. Is Pat Mahomes running away with the MVP? That's next on First Things First.
Let me tell you what they ain't saying in Green Bay.